This is a podcast from the Queen City Podcast Network.
Welcome to Nerd School.
Scissor me, daddy ass.
Yeah.
Suck it, nerds!
Scissor me, daddy ass.
Suck it, nerds!
Scissor me, daddy ass.
Suck it, nerds!
Scissor me, daddy ass.
Welcome to Nerd School.
You hit record as my thing went crazy.
Artstar's in a bad mood.
I might have to, when my wife gets home with groceries, take a pause to go help unload the car.
No.
Yes, you let him be a good husband, Joe.
Ha.
You let him be a good husband. Just
Just
because
'cause
you're
A shitty one.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Just because you're out here lusting after Artstar instead of your wife doesn't give you the right to ruin it.
Have you seen Artstar topless?
I have not. And it's not on my Christmas wish list.
I
I
haven't
let
either.
you guys have your love affair.
I haven't either, but I have an idea of what it might be like.
You see it in your fantasies,
Yes.
of course.
I like that the very beginning, the top of the episode is about me being tastefully nude.
If Joe's gonna have a chance to bring it up, he's gonna bring it up wherever he can. So
Right.
you know, we started with Andy being a good husband, and Joe went straight to your nudity.
There was a little bit in between. You accusing me of spending more time thinking about Artstar than my wife.
And then you proved it by talking about our nude.
Artstar is the greatest of all time. Ladies who are listening, if you want one night with Artstar,
Are you auctioning him off?
yeah, we're gonna have a contest.
One indecent proposal style.
Did you know you were getting auctioned off today when you logged on?
Not at all.
All you have to do
No.
is review on Apple Podcasts, review Nerd School, and give us 5 stars, and
There you are.
you can have one night with Artstar.
One
whatever you
night
want.
only.
One night to win his love forever. That night will include waffles, if you're lucky.
Maple syrup.
Syrup. You like maple syrup, Artstar?
Now I'm in the Gavi nectar type person.
Oh, you're not. So you're not a Mrs. Butterworth type of guy.
No, I've never been a Mrs. Butterworth type of guy.
You're not a Mr. Butterworth.
You're not a Mr. You don't want to be a Mr. Butterworth.
I feel like this
Wow.
conversation could go wrong really quickly.
Yeah, it's all in your
Dripping syrup.
Nope. Let's catch up on where we are, guys. Jeez Louise, let's catch up.
Oh, Artstar's new intro. Those of you who've listened to the new intro of this episode, you heard Artstar say, "Scissor me, daddy ass."
That is a professional wrestling reference.
Yes, it's not just a random weird thing, which I wouldn't have known that had you guys. not.
It's still a weird thing, even if it is a wrestling reference.
It is
Yes,
weird.
it's pretty silly.
And speaking of wrestling reference, in one of the old Spider-Man movies, he wrestles Randy Macho Man Savage as Bonesaw McGraw.
Yes, and that's because he tried to be a professional wrestler in the comic books when he first got his powers.
Oh,
Although it was more of it wasn't the professional wrestling we know today. It was like, can you survive 3 minutes in a ring with Crusher Hogan? And so he just put a mask on and then danced around the ring with him and got some money. But he got stiffed by the promoter, who wasn't expecting anyone to win the money in the first place. And then so he got mad and walked out. And then a guy robbed the promoter and stole his money. And then Spider-Man was like, "Fuck you! You try to stiff me. This is what you get. Why is this my business? I'm not interfering." He could have stopped the criminal as he ran away, and then he didn't. He said, "Fuck you." He was out of spite, and then that guy ended up killing his Uncle Ben.
wow.
And then we have the tragedy, a la.
And that's how the
Uncle
tragedy
Ben.
happens. All 'cause
That's
of
when he
wrestling.
learned, with great power comes great responsibility. He could have stopped it. His Uncle Ben would be alive if he had acted not out of spite, but out of, I guess, enforcing the law.
Wow.
Or like a moral compass, I guess is
Yeah,
what they were
yeah.
trying to say.
Right. That's and that's why he feels guilty all the time
And
about everything.
This is all in the comic books from when, like the 70s.
This is Amazing Fantasy number 15. This is his debut in 1962.
Oh,
Stan Lee, Steve Ditko with some
throughout this movie, there are a million Easter eggs of issues of Spider-Man, and
I just did the research.
Howard the Duck one.
Can we? I don't think we've told the listeners. Welcome to Nerd School. This is Spider-Man: Homecoming. Like we just jumped in.
Yeah, this is Spider-Man. Well, I was segueing
from. It was a long
wrestling.
segue. The segue was too long.
I was like, what are we watching, guys? What are we watching?
That is the basics of Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man: Homecoming, and I was just researching. Because the standard question Joe has is this somebody from the comics?
Yeah, is Spider-Man a comic book?
Yes, Spider-Man is a comic book character,
and it's hyphenated.
It's hyphenated.
Spider-Man. And so I did.
It's not Spider-Man.
I will say this. I'm glad TVJ brought this up because trying to find which of these movies wasn't super easy because they all have home in the title. So if you don't remember,
it's the home trilogy.
There's Homecoming, Far From Home, Away From Home, Home Alone, Home We Don't Play That.
Maybe
Spider-Man, Homie Don't Play That. That's
coming soon.
That's when Damon Wayans turns into Spider-Man.
It's coming soon.
Unless that's Damon Wayans as Blank Man. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But
it was so for a minute I was like, I don't know which one it is. Like I'm not sure.
That's
but
what the internet is for.
I think I found the right one. Well, internet gets confusing. It always ends up on Pornhub.
Does your internet always end up there, or you always end up there?
Mine's broken. Mine's broken. It always goes to Pornhub.
It's hardwired into Pornhub.
Yeah, is it broken, or have you just?
It's always just 3 clicks away from Pornhub somehow.
Only 3. I'm surprised.
I thought that'd be your default homepage.
It is my homepage. It's just a video homepage.
Oh, wait, no. What am I thinking? It's lemonparty.org is your default homepage.
Lemonparty.org. And that's actually one of our
wait, is it actually .org? Because that's a whole other thing.
I really hope it is not .org. That would mean you are a nonprofit.
Yes.
One of our
I don't know how they monetize that.
One of the Nerd School episodes was subtitled Lemon Party, and that's got the most listens by far. I think it's because of the title. I think people search Lemon Party a lot and then just listen to whatever's titled that.
What does that say about our society?
Yeah,
what does that say?
So welcome to the Spider-Man Homecoming episode,
maybe
aka
Spider-Man or 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
2 Girls, 1 Cup episode.
I don't think so. But anyway, what I was saying is just about every character you can think of in this movie is a reference to an actual comic book character, and a lot of them are like.
Wait. Let's see
really
how many
references.
Let's see how many I can guess off the top of my head.
All
I
right.
know that Michael Keaton is Vulture.
Yes. My dog just farted in here.
There's 2 guys who end up as Shocker, right?
Yeah.
Shocker, I should say Shocker. 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink.
But the first guy who is the Shocker is not actually the original Shocker. He is actually a character named Montana, who was one of the enforcers, along with Fancy Dan and Ox. And he was only the Shocker because a Spider-Man cartoon from I want to say the 2000s, Spectacular Spider-Man, decided to make him the Shocker instead. Because the original Shocker has kind of a reputation as being a schmuck.
So by having these 2 people be Shocker for a second, that made homage to that thing that happened in a cartoon sometime.
Yeah. And also
That's
reference
impressive.
because I don't know if they're going to get around to having the enforcers, Fancy Dan, Ox, and Montana, who's like a fucking cowboy guy good with a lasso.
Yeah, what's this Fancy Dan? The enforcers are a comic book
or just
hero
like a low rent criminal trio. Ox is a big dude. Fancy Dan is fancy, and he's their leader.
Fancy Dan?
Yeah, this is early 60s stuff.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
The names weren't the most creative.
Yes, they weren't. So is Michelle? This is the first I've ever heard of a Michelle as a love interest for. Isn't her name?
Yeah, Michelle Jones. And later, I think in a later movie, it's revealed that her hyphenated real last name is Watson. this is a new character for the films, but it's obviously just a reinvention of Mary Jane Watson, the standard, the longtime love interest and occasional wife.
Isn't Zendaya Mary Jane?
She's MJ. She's
Michelle.
Just
MJ.
She's Michelle Jones,
not her,
but she's MJ.
The other one, the one that's the love interest.
Her sister.
She's MJ.
Oh, Liz.
Yeah.
Liz.
Sorry, I was getting them mixed up. Liz, the one
Liz
who
is a combination of a couple of characters. They say.
I was. Is she
like
in the comics?
His
Is
real
she
life
Vulture's
first comic book love interest, and the Vulture's daughter.
Yeah, Liz Allen was, right in the first issue of Spider-Man ever. She's there as well as part of like the popular crowd that sort of picks on him. And
but she's not the love interest or the girl he has.
She develops a crush on him eventually after Peter's involved with Betty Brant, who was in this movie as one of like the co-anchor of the student newscast.
Yeah, that was Betty Brant, the
spoiler.
blonde.
Yeah.
And the next one becomes entangled with Ned.
Oh,
which is an homage to her actual comic book relationship with Ned, and they got married in the comics.
Ned is a character from the comics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
You don't think he would be in there?
No, I thought he was completely made up for this movie.
No,
I really did. I didn't know he had a
very
best friend.
He's very different from the comic book Ned.
Yes,
because Ned Leeds was like a reporter for the Daily Bugle.
Oh, he was.
He's a regular white dude, and he eventually became the Hobgoblin.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Does he turn into anybody or any kind of? So he turns into a bad guy. Ned does in the comics.
Yep. Although the Hobgoblin is kind of like it's weird and convoluted. It was been retconned a number of times. It's sort of like a franchised supervillain identity. Like it's not always the same guy. You don't know which Hobgoblin is which.
Huh.
Because like originally it was Ned Leeds was the Hobgoblin, and then apparently I just read that like there was some creator disagreement, and like I didn't want that to be like the guy who was writing the story left in the middle of the story, and it was a big long mystery of who's the Hobgoblin, and he was only created because people like his bosses kept saying we need to bring the Green Goblin back, and then it said no, Green Goblin had his story and it's been years, and we don't want to cheapen that by bringing him back, so they just sort of made a new Goblin. And
that's kind of dumb. So that's why there's a Hobgoblin and a Green Goblin. I never understood that whole
but
thing.
they really like the Hobgoblin is very different. I mean, he's basically a yellow Green Goblin, but in like his attire and his outfits and his weapons and stuff. But like the whole reasoning behind him is there's several different people who have been the Hobgoblin for various different reasons. Okay. And part of it is to, obfuscate who is in charge of everything. There's Roderick Kingsley, there's Ned Leeds, who was initially he was initially the Hobgoblin, then they said no, he was brainwashed into becoming the Hobgoblin by this Roderick Kingsley guy, and then there's Jason Ackendale, and it's the whole thing.
Do we think this Ned from this movie is going to end up being a Hobgoblin, or has he yet? I mean, you guys are far ahead of me.
In the movies we've seen him in, every once in a while there's some point, I'm not sure if I can't remember if it's this movie or a later movie, he says, I promise I will never turn into a supervillain.
I think that's the later ones, because people have been always thinking, is he going to turn into Hobgoblin?
Yeah.
And it's always that whole, like, even I guess when the last one, the fact that he was doing magic and stuff, it was like, oh, well, he could possibly love having this kind of power and then want to use it for evil. Maybe this is how he becomes the Hobgoblin. Like all of the I'm doing air quotes, all of the blogs and things would be like, Ned's eventually going to probably become the Hobgoblin. Is this the movie where he becomes the Hobgoblin? Like maybe that's why, like even the last movie they were saying like, this dude, he just decided he wanted to lose some weight. But they tried to make it seem like, oh, he was losing weight because in this movie, he's going to become a bad guy. He might become a bad guy, and that's why he's changing his body type. Like,
so short answer, no, Joe, not yet. And then
yeah, but it could
have been so.
That kid is so good. He's so funny, and he's one of the best parts about the show, I think. Like, he does such a good job of being the buddy who's finding out about the superhero powers, and he just keeps asking those questions.
Man in the chair.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts.
But yeah, there's also a
Man
Tiana
chair,
Toombs. Liz Allen was like, a popular high school blonde white chick who eventually like had a crush on Peter Parker, and then but it wasn't reciprocated because for various reasons. And then she eventually met and married Harry Osborn, the son of Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin.
Okay.
And they had a son, and but Harry broke down and wound up dying. And Liz even dated Foggy Nelson from Daredevil for a little while, and stuff like that. And in the Ultimate comic books, interestingly enough, I just learned she turns into the Ultimate version of Firestar.
Ooh.
Of Spider-Man and his amazing friends.
Liz Allen does?
Yeah. But this is combined with Tiana Toombs, the Vulture's daughter, who
so they're combining two characters.
Yeah. And they were doing this
I alluded to at the very beginning.
Yeah, and they were doing
FYI.
this very specifically to throw nerds off the scent, to actually have some surprises for that's Liz Allen, that's who it is. And then so
it was a surprise then for nerds when she ends up being
when Michael Keaton answers
Batman's
the door.
Daughter, yeah.
When Michael Keaton answers the door, that was like, holy shit. That was
why is he there? Like, I thought he was kidnapping her at first.
Yeah.
And I just know, as we talk about Michael Keaton, the quietness that his career had took for a while until Birdman, which came out right before this, and this came out, and it was like, so glad to see you back in this.
Does it bother you, TBJ, with him being Batman?
Well,
I respect him as Batman.
There's also a scene in this movie, if you catch a glimpse of it, like you see like in the moon, and like when he's like flying away, it kind of makes like a bird shape, which I read they said is kind of like a callback to like him being, nipple Batman.
He wasn't nipple Batman. That was Val Kilmer.
Right, yes. Right, my bad.
Kilmer had the nipples.
Yeah, but wasn't
unfortunately
that was nipples? That was nipples in the Batman. Okay, I just wanted to throw out nipples.
You just want to talk about nipples? Yes,
he just wanted to talk about nipples.
Where a costumer decided that the bat suit needed nipples. I don't know why it was decided. The same reason I don't know why Robert Pattinson's hair was trash. But
Joel Schumacher came on and wanted to return some of probably the Adam West camp to Batman that Tim Burton was trying to segue away from. Joel Schumacher just kind of dragged it back and then had to apologize for not putting me in the cooler. It's ice to see you. I am Mr. Freeze.
Well, you guys,
when it is cold.
You guys may not have a problem with him being Batman and Vulture, but I have a problem with him being Mr. Mom and Vulture.
Because it doesn't fit into your Joe-verse?
Yeah, it's hard to fit. It's harder to.
What about Beetlejuice?
Multiplicity.
That's true.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, multiplicity should solve your problems.
Multiplicity. So it's just clones. There we go. That solves every problem, really.
Done. Yeah. See,
and
every Michael Keaton problem,
including Spider-Man problems, because Spider-Man and clones go hand in hand.
There you go.
Yeah. There's I think I already talked about the Clone Saga for a while, didn't I?
Is that where they got that 60s cartoon where the Spider-Man's pointing at two other Spider-Men?
Probably.
That everybody uses in the Marvel Snap game. Yep. Like you were required to put that out if you play the same card as somebody, which is great. The Marvel Snap. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part of the game. All right. So back to this movie. And the other one I know is Lank Thompson. I know he's a character.
You mean Flash Thompson? Lank Thompson is Mike Myers. Saturday Night Live. Lank Thompson, handsome man.
I'm Lank Thompson. I'm a handsome man. Yes, I actually knew it was Flash Thompson. But Flash Thompson's the bad guy, right? He's like the
Flash Thompson was Peter Parker's. He was like the bully stereotype, and from the jump, he was there making Peter Parker's life hell. And he's the captain of the football team, that kind of guy. But eventually, he sort of matures. He joins the army. He becomes friends with Peter at some point, but he has some pretty bad war experiences. He loses his legs, becomes an alcoholic, but then kind of comes out of it and is enlisted by the army again. So he put him back in his service by allowing himself to bond with the Venom symbiote for a while. They had that captured, and Agent Venom, I thought that was a cool look, because I'm not a huge fan of the big drooling slobber monster Venom, but I liked when they came up with this idea. Flash Thompson is Agent Venom, and he basically looks like a combination between Spider-Man and Snake Eyes, and that he's like a soldier.
G.I. Joe.
Yeah. So he looked pretty cool. It's all right. I like this look. This is neat. but the problem was like if he got too stressed or excited, or if he was bonded with this thing for too long, it would start to take over because that's what the symbiote does.
He now
So-
has a son who's Venom.
Flash Thompson has a son now.
Not Flash, Eddie Brock. Right? Eddie Brock.
Oh, okay.
Because
Now,
Eddie
who's
Brock
Eddie?
is Eddie Brock's the original Venom. He was in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3.
right.
Oh,
All I can
gosh,
think this
okay.
whole time is there's a song about Venom, and that's all that's playing in my head. Thanks.
Yeah, that's
How's it
one thing
go?
I never really understood, the Venom thing. But you want to
You're
sing
never gonna hear me sing out
sing a
loud
few bars?
recorded for the world to hear.
TBJ,
That's not what's meant to happen.
I could edit in some like old school Anita Baker and just say
You
that
can
was
edit
pretend
it
that's
in,
you.
and I will just make a
Well,
public
you can just
statement
go down the
that
whole
that is
rabbit hole
not
of like
me.
taking everything she says and splicing it and making a song.
Put an
And
auto
Let's
tune.
not do that. My contract says that's not happening.
If TBJ was to become a sort of hip hop R&B star tomorrow, what would be your stage name?
I'd be a hell of a hype man. One, a la Flavor Flav. I'd just be in the
Okay.
back hyping you up.
That's cool.
I don't know if I have a stage name. I think you'd just still call me TBJ.
TBJ is a pretty good name, right? As it is.
Yeah,
TBJ, y'all.
Well, I will say that TBJ sits in certain aspects of my world. Very few people call me TBJ. And so someone last week
TBJ,
texted me
motherfucker.
from a number that I did not know, and it said TBJ. And I was like, what is this? Because I've changed, I had an unfortunate incident with my phone. So some things aren't in this new phone. And I was like, I don't know who this is. And they asked me something about another section of my life where someone wouldn't call me TBJ. So I'm like, this is weird. I figured out who the person was, and I adore them, and they're great. But I also was like, how does she call me TBJ? What does she know? What does she know?
It just your presence is growing is what it means. Like
It was,
even now,
uh-huh.
sometimes when I'm like just in the zone at work, and all of a sudden, be like, "Hey, Artstar," and like Donnie would just pop up out of nowhere. Just like,
I will say somebody did not realize we were on a supervisor call, and someone said, I did not realize someone, I think Joe, you had said something about TBJ, and they didn't link that it was me you were talking about.
I probably say that all the time, not even realizing that that's not a normal name. That's not a normal name.
No, I mean, we have a lot of new
Yeah.
team members, so
That's
it
true.
would not have occurred to them to link the
Yeah.
TBJ to
TBJ.
you. Older people, Lisa used to call me TBJ. So if you'd been around for a very long time in that department, it wouldn't seem unfamiliar. But they were like, I didn't realize Joe was talking about you. I was like, yep. Mhm.
TBJ, motherfucker.
I'm sure that's not how you said it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wish you would say that when you walked into a room. Like every
Right.
room you walk into, you'd be like, it's
It's like-
TBJ time, motherfucker. Like that would be
Yeah.
great.
like slowly open the
No.
door and it's like swing it open.
Yeah, that seems very unlike me. It's very unlike me.
And then like some kind of music. You need some like entrance music.
Yeah,
like
I'm
wrestling
down with
music.
entrance music wherever I go. If someone wants to follow me around with
And
a
then
boombox,
pyrotechnics.
I am
going.
completely fine with that.
So what would the music be?
It's got to be early 2000s rap. All of it.
Okay.
That's all
Early
it needs to
2000s.
follow around.
Meow, meow.
That's it.
Meow, meow.
It's your
There you
flipping
go.
dip dap derp. It's your flipping dip dap derp. Is that what you're trying to do, Andy?
Yeah.
And then so back to the
Yeah, I
phone
was trying to
with
do flippin' dippin' dap derp.
the
That's
unfortunate.
That's
exactly
the
what
real
Missy
lyrics.
Elliott said.
That's the
Yeah.
real thing I was trying
That's
to do.
it.
It's your flipping dipping dam derp. The so that unfortunate toilet incident. I mean, that, dang it, I ruined my whole question. The unfortunate phone incident. Did it involve a toilet?
It did.
You
How
dropped the
did
phone in the
know?
toilet.
That was a good guess.
Yeah,
And
how did you
and-
know?
As a callback to my previous statements, like I don't know who was the last episode. That's exactly why things should not belong in the bathroom when when you
It
go
was
to the
in my
bathroom.
pocket. Sadly, it was in my pocket. I didn't have it out. It was
Okay.
in my pocket of my cardigan, and it fell out.
Yeah, that happens, and then you got to decide how bad you want that phone.
I have a new phone. We have a new phone.
Is it worth a poop hand or? Is it not worth a poop hand?
There was no poop in the toilet. Let's make that clear. But we do have a new phone.
Oh man.
See, if I drop my phone in the toilet, I make sure
We
to
don't
poop
even
before
that
I
we don't want
get
to
it.
picture that. We don't want to
And
even
you make
picture
sure,
that.
like, when you had like some brownies or something.
No.
Well, you know, they advertise phones now as, hey, now they're waterproof. The new iPhone's waterproof, but they never say poop proof.
No one
Or
needs to
even
know if it's poop. No one should be dropping their phone in poop.
Yes, it's the worst.
So you drop it in the toilet and then you go eat a pack of Oreos and then
Yeah,
come
just because I
back.
want to test to see how poop proof it is.
No, that's
I've
not.
never once dropped my phone in the toilet. My wife did once.
Don't try this at home, folks.
Yeah, we don't. It's not recommended.
Yeah, do
We
don't
not put your
condone.
phone in the toilet. No phones in the toilets. Don't put your
think it's-
laptop in the toilet. As Artstar says, don't bring anything in the toilet. Just use that time for me time.
You can't even read a magazine in there, according to Artstar.
Yeah,
Right.
Artstar can't even
Right.
read or anything.
You gotta
Right.
read
Matter of fact,
Meditation.
instructions
you
on
op-
shampoo
when you
bottles.
open the door to the bathroom, strip before you walk in.
I don't know what you're doing in a bathroom that is like I have a feeling that your visits to the bathroom and mine vary if you're that paranoid about all the
You
things in the
Put on a
bathroom.
hazmat suit to go to the bathroom.
Nope, that's not my experience. It's pretty calm, it's pretty serene in there.
I'm just
There are
impressed we got
candles.
TVJ to talk about going to the bathroom this long.
This is the
I know.
bathroom episode. This is the
And
bathroom episode, everybody.
No. Mm-mm. She says no. Back to the movie.
All right.
Spider-Man, where are you coming from?
So who's this
Spider-Man?
directed by and all that? Were people happy? Were people upset, first of all, that this was not Tobey Maguire? Like, because this is the first one with the new
We've
guy.
passed
No, it
not
isn't.
Tobey Maguire. No, this
We
is the
already
third
had
one.
a middle two movies with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Oh,
as
Andrew
the
Garfield's
Amazing
after,
Spider-Man.
okay.
Yes.
And so were people expecting, were nerds expecting Andrew Garfield then to be
Nerds
in
had
the
already
MCU?
seen Captain America: Civil War,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
they
that's
knew
right.
the Spider-Man.
He was already introduced. Sorry, that was a dumb
We
question.
knew it was coming.
I'm an idiot.
But also note, just fun fact of degrees of separation, the love interest in the Amazing Spider-Man was
Emma Stone, Gwen
who
Stacy.
plays the daughter of Michael Keaton in Birdman. Now Michael Keaton is
Whoa.
in Spider-Man Homecoming. There you go, Joe Verse.
Wow,
Everyone's
that's a
in
Joe
late.
Verse type of thing. So they
There you
both.
go.
Oh, okay. Birdman. Gosh, I don't know if I remember. I know I saw that. But that was the Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield.
yes, she was
Yes,
she was a love
Emma
interest
Stone.
there.
And she was
And
not
then-
Mary Jane. She was Gwen Stacy.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
Look at you knowing something.
Who it's a separate character.
And both
Yes.
of those are characters that are in the comics, but in different time periods.
Yes.
Right?
Correct.
Gwen
Both of them
Stacy's
are
college.
Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane are college friends of Peter Parker in the original comics.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Although Peter dated Gwen Stacy first, and Mary Jane was dating his best friend Harry Osborn, and then
But Gwen Stacy hasn't been in the MCU.
not yet.
Well,
No.
I feel like we've had this conversation on the podcast.
She has been. An alternate reality version of her is in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which we can reference it a little bit later when we talk about Donald Glover's character.
I love Donald Glover.
Who doesn't?
I think I think he might be my favorite.
She died tragically in one of the early Spider-Man stories with the Green Goblin. That was like the
Yeah.
pinnacle Green Goblin story, and at the time, that
In the
was
comics, you're talking.
in the comics
Yeah.
back in back in the day.
They killed a character.
That was to kill. It was basically like killing Lois Lane,
yeah.
or something like that. Like everyone was shocked that happened, and they kind of, for the most part, kept with that. I mean,
They kept her dead.
Yeah, I mean, there have been like clone stories
Yeah.
and shit like that, but they've reinvented her within the last decade by sort of introducing an alternate reality version of her, where she was bitten by the spider and became Spider-Woman herself. Except she had in the
Ooh.
Into the Spider-Verse cartoon, you saw her in there. She had like she was like a punk rock band drummer. She had like
Yeah.
the white
Oh.
pink costume with the
You-
spider
and-
hood.
You've seen it.
They're calling her Ghost Spider now.
I
Yeah.
watched it, but I didn't. Yeah, gosh, I had no idea. I want to watch it again. I remember thinking that was really good. I took the kids.
It was.
Thinking
Into
it was
the
like a
Spider-Verse?
kids. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember when I took them.
It's
I
fantastic.
thought it was like a dumb little kids cartoon of Spider-Man that would be dumb, and they
No.
were littler at least. And I was like, holy crap, this is the best. This is the best one.
Oh, it's so good.
it's
Did your
so
kids
good.
like it?
Yeah, they loved it. I'm gonna watch it again. In fact, I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'll go watch it. No, but shoot, that whole conversation just brought up 100. So, is Gwen Stacy always Spider-Woman? Is like the
No.
Spider-Woman that everybody knows? That's not Gwen.
No.
Stacy.
No, not at all. That's a separate character named Jessica Drew, who
Oh.
originated as Spider Woman, and then there's been a couple of different Spider Women.
Isn't there a Spider Girl too?
There is. There's been I think a couple different ones depending on which. There's been,
but none of these are in
the
the
Spider-Verse is huge and insane. They're not there yet. However, I was doing research for this and I realized one of the people on the debate team, on his quiz team, Cindy Moon, who is a relatively
Artstar
new character.
What are you gonna say?
Named Silk, and the story, she was
Not
invented.
Diamond and Silk Trump's people.
No.
No.
Silk like spider web.
One of them
silk.
passed away.
Yeah, isn't that tragic?
But yeah, Silk is not that crappy one. But this one is interesting in that the story, like, she was invented as when the spider bit Peter Parker and gave him the powers. He was on a school field trip, and then that spider, before it died, it also bit her on the ankle. But she was kind of
the Cindy Moon who we're talking about.
Yeah, so she developed spider powers too. She could like spin webs out of her fingertips. But
did she have a super name?
Silk.
Silk. You already said that.
You
sorry.
stupid idiot.
You know who Silk the Shocker is?
Yes.
I don't think
going back to the 90s.
Going back to the 90s, baby.
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh wait, wasn't there a Silk R&B girl group?
And then
Silk. There was a male group
named Silk
with a Silk, but
Freak Me
Silk
Baby.
the Shocker was a part of the No Limit Army.
Freak Me Baby. I don't see nothing wrong. No, that's
what was the
Freak Me song? Yeah.
I'm not going to do
singer saying Silk was a group that sang that Freak Me song.
Yes,
I want to get freaky with you.
No one wants you to sing it, Joe.
Oh.
Or you aren't. There's no singing in nerd school.
Stop. I want to play with your body, baby.
God bless it.
Make you feel happy.
Yes. All right. I think we got a new theme song.
Artstar and I are starting an R&B band.
Right.
That's fine as long as you bring your proceeds over here financially to nerd school.
You don't think we're gonna owe money immediately to everyone? Everyone will sue us. We're suing you for noise pollution. You're a nuisance.
Listen, there may be a niche that you fit into. There may be a niche.
That's the name of our song, our first song. There may be a niche. That's the name of it.
There you
go. Silk is an interesting story as well, but she's basically a different kind of Spider Girl, Spider Woman. That's Peter Parker's classmate, but she was there was this evil mystical spider hunting villain named Morloon that was kind of unstoppable, that was hunting her. So Morloon. He was kind of lame, but he's basically like a weird, invulnerable Dracula kind of monster
who went through like the multiverse and was hunting spider. He was like a multi-dimensional spider slayer.
All right. I think this means I gotta take a break to
quick commercial break.
Yeah, we'll take a quick break. We'll insert an ad here.
Hey nerds, check out the Gruff and Loud show on YouTube.
You got a kid.
That's what you think.
I forgot to tell you. Remember that time you banged Shannon Doherty? You got her pregnant. You got her pregnant, bro. Kid's 26 now.
Well, I'm glad. The kid's probably doing all right.
No, he's not. He needs you. He needs a father.
Well, I was a donor, not a father.
No. He needs a real father to step up and teach him how to fish.
Well,
and if you can teach him how to fish, you will have successfully raised him. You have 30 minutes. Here he is. Teach him how to fish. 30 minutes.
Minnows work better than worms.
Oh, you did it. Hooray. You have successfully fathered Shannon Doherty's child. Congratulations.
Achievement unlocked.
Bing, 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 bing. Confetti, streamers, fireworks.
Retirement.
What's happening? What are we talking about?
Check out the Gruff and Loud show on YouTube.
Hello, I'm
Laser
back.
sword.
There's
Laser.
Susie.
Laser.
Hi, Susie.
Hey guys, he's the best husband who ever husband.
Yes.
Oh,
Well, Joe
Laser
is trying to
tag.
corrupt him. You tell her, Andy, later that Joe is trying to corrupt you to not being the best husband ever, so she could have a vengeance against Joe.
when my wife gets home from groceries, everybody tries to hide and do other things. She's gotta be-
It's raining outside, so I'm a little damp now.
Oh, you're
Anyway,
moist.
more lube.
And he's moist.
and wet with his podcast.
Why are we
And it's
there?
all wet.
Stop
The,
it.
the podcast just got moist.
Oh yeah.
No.
Slaved and Ganavi and jelly.
Yeah.
You guys still
it's
talking
Corey
about,
Ganami and jelly.
All right, Flash.
Okay, we're talking about Flash Thompson. So should we jump into the movie a little bit that was directed
Yeah,
by
let's do some movies.
well, and then we did
Jonathan Watts is the director, and he directed all 3 of the Spider-Man home trilogy, and
Oh,
he's
he did.
also tapped to direct the MCU Fantastic Four film.
Oh,
He was,
wait, yeah,
and then he exited the project in April.
but the project still exists.
The project
Yes.
still exists. And I'm
Oh.
not sure.
I think it's
Ooh,
just
I want to know the
director list now.
behind the scenes story of that. I really need an inside man at Marvel. I keep saying this, but somebody needs to be my best friend who works there, who can spill the tea when I need it. I need this.
Well, this guy's first foray into film started with a short called Clay Pride. Being Clay in America, it was a claymation film and a satire of films about gay issues, with the main character Steve Thompson coming out as Clay. Over the next decade,
Oh, I get it.
Watts would continue to work in short films, as well as directing several music videos for various artists like Fatboy Slim, Death Cab for Cutie,
Death Clab.
Death Cab. Sorry, I don't know why I
I was
said
about to say
Clab.
that's not it.
That's not
Death Cab
right.
for Cutie. That's hard to say. Death Cab for Cutie. Fatboy Slim and Death Cab for Cutie all in a row is hard to say. Reliant K, Sleigh Bells, Head Automatica, and TV on the Radio. Did you guys know? any
Did
of
you
that?
just say Reliant and then correct it to Reliant?
No, it is Reliant. Reliant is so I don't think
Oh, I
it's
see.
Reliant.
It's not Reliant. Okay.
Reliant, I assume is how you say that. That's an American rock band formed in 1998 in Canton, Ohio, Andy.
All right, butthole. And apparently,
Butthole?
so he left Fantastic Four because he's going to do a Star Wars series for Disney Plus called
Oh,
Star
he
Wars
is?
Skeleton Crew. Yeah,
Star
Huh.
Wars Skeleton Crew. What's that? Does anybody know about
it's some. It's I think
Yeah.
it's the some characters from the Mandalorian are spinning
that?
off.
Oh, another spinoff of Star. There's, a lot of people complain and say it's too much Star Wars. Give me more
You
Star
can never
Wars.
have too much Star
I
Wars.
want,
man.
I want a series with starring everybody who was in the Star Wars bar. I want them all to have their own. I want more Star Wars all the time.
I mean,
All right,
you can
it-
just about have that.
It might not actually be characters from the Mandalorian, but it's in the same time era, so I'm sure there'll be a crossover.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
They'll always. It's like when they did Rogue One. Which one was
Mhm,
that?
Rogue One.
Yeah,
Rogue
how
One.
they are happening at the same time, and you see where it links into the movies without
Mm.
the people from the movies being a part of it.
Yeah, they don't even need to
Um,
be. Yeah, it's a whole nother. story.
Andor is
No, they do
really
it
good.
well.
It's a really good one. You
I gotta
guys really
say,
should
I'm,
watch
I'm
Andor.
digging Andor. and
Andor
I-
is fucking.
I watched like
amazing.
the first 4 episodes or 6 or whatever, and I thought it was over. I thought I watched the whole series. I was like, oh, it's too
Yeah,
bad it's only-"
that's like I only thought it was 6 episodes, but
Yeah.
apparently it's like 12.
Yeah, like
Oh,
after the
yeah,
heist, I
it's-
was like, that was a
it's
really good
good.
first season. And I was like, oh wait, there's a bunch more
It's
episodes.
It's the
fucking
JK,
amazing.
just K. JK,
Fucking
JK.
amazing.
Yeah, we love it. It's fucking amazing. Artstar's right. It's fucking amazing.
And Spider-Man has seen The Empire Strikes Back at least, because that's how
Yeah.
they beat Giant Man in Civil War.
Yeah, he has, and you see in his room, he has so many action figures along the top of the wall there.
And they're
He
building the Death
definitely-
Star Lego set.
Oh,
so
yeah,
yeah, he-
they're building the Death Star Lego set, which
Definitely
they,
a Star Wars
know,
nerd.
and I'll
Definitely,
vouch for
definitely.
that. Kids
Yep.
still want that. My son still wants that thing. And he's got a friend who has it. And it kills him because I have a friend who's got a kid who has it, and they've had it for years and they never even opened it. Their parents just got it to him because they got a bunch of money, and the kids probably didn't even want it. And he just sees it sitting there and he salivates. It's like, they have the fucking Death Star. They didn't open the goddamn thing for years. It's like my son would open it and build it immediately, so he's
Why doesn't he just say to his friend, "Hey, friend, do you plan
Well-
on building that? I'd love to build it with you, or I could build it."
well, they don't live in town. They're not really close, but their dad and my dad and me and his dad. Wait, I'm his dad.
I'm still the fool that would ask if I go back over
Yeah.
there
Can
and
I have
still
that?
see it in the box. I'd be like, hey,
Hey, man, can I just buy that off you for half the
what you
price you
doing
bought it
with
for?
this here? You planning on building it anytime soon? I'd love to build it.
Well, that's kind of that's what Ned does in this film. Like he wants to
Yep.
build the thing with them. They're buds. I like that little montage. But let's get to the beginning of the movie, shall we?
Yeah, so about an
Finally,
hour
10
in.
years later.
Yeah.
Finally.
Well, we'll kind of jump quick, maybe, because I didn't go through and write every scene by scene. I'll just go through so I found a page. What's the Wikipedia for Marvel? It's Marvelpedia or whatever.
There's a Marvel
Where they kinda did
cinematic
a
wiki,
good
and then there's a
synopsis.
Marvel comics wiki that also
It's the
includes movie
cinematic
stuff.
one, I think. So, and it just kind of starts with a synopsis, and it's following the Battle of New York. Tony Stark and the federal government orders the U.S. Department of Damage Control to clean the aftermath of the battle, driving salvage company owner Adrian Toombs out of business. And Toombs convinces his crew to not surrender the Chitauri technology already scavenged from the battle and use it to further a criminal agenda. And then, according to this, it says 4 years later, the crew are making.
Yeah, they did it wrong on.
So
the
they
movie.
messed up,
said-
right? So the
yeah.
movie messed up.
Yeah,
They
it's
meant
what
to say
the
4
director
years.
said they messed it up.
Yeah,
But it's supposed to have been 4 years and not 8 years.
yeah. I saw that on a YouTube channel.
How do you mess that up?
Yeah, so they messed up the timeline of the
It's
MCU.
3
I
words
guess.
on a screen.
Well, they
How
didn't put the. I don't think the person who wrote the word got it wrong. I think the planning of the MCU got it wrong, and they realized later that they should have said 4 instead of 8. Like they were. I don't know. I don't get it. Artstar, maybe you can explain how it was wrong.
It's supposed because I think in the beginning, this shit happened in 2012, and if it would have been 8 years, it would have made it 2020. So it would have thrown the timeline off to when Civil War happened. I believe that they said it was because this is Civil War. We haven't done Civil War yet, have we?
Yeah, we did.
So Civil War was what, 2016?
Yeah, the film came out then,
and this film came out in 2017.
Yeah.
Right. So it should have, but the timeline when they had the Civil War battle should have been 4 years after 2012 and not 8 years after 2012.
Yeah, 2016 would be
12.
So the original Avengers was 2012, and
Right.
that's when the beginning of this film is set. It's Damage Control showing up. Tyne Daly.
Yeah, so they it was great having Tyne Daly, but in the beginning when they say 8 years,
and
it
that's a
meant
character
4
from the
years.
comics too.
But yeah, so let me just finish this first sentence. It says 4 years later, the crew are making big on exotic weapons deals, and Toombs begins wearing a winged harness that gives him the ability to fly. Yeah, so right at the beginning, they show these guys, and I love just the beginning of this being that I love it when they show the realistic part of these crazy, unrealistic movies. Like somebody's got to clean all the shit up, and like showing the workers. I think it's a brilliant idea to have the regular people trying to deal with this new world they're in. Look at all these superheroes. Look at all
that
this
was
stuff.
that was the basis of the series Damage Control, which was created in 1988 for Marvel. There was an actual Damage Control series,
really,
which was founded by Anne Marie Hogue, who was played by Tyne Daly.
A comic book series, not a TV series.
Yeah, comic book series.
Sorry,
although they were, I thought they were going to try to make a TV series, and then I guess maybe they called it off.
Well, you know that, but now they're in quote unquote a TV series. It's not a dedicated to them, but they are a part of TV series. They've been doing shit throughout a lot of these movies, like Shang-Chi, Miss Marvel. So
they're making a killing by and this was interesting. It's created by Dwayne McDuffie and Ernie Colon. And the company, when it started, was originally co-owned by Tony Stark and Wilson Fisk, aka the Kingpin. And
we're talking about the Department of Damage Control.
Yeah, the Damage Control. It was like a private contracting business when it started, and they were the owners. They're like, "Oh, we need to clean this up." But then Stark got a little twitchy about working with the Kingpin, and then so like somehow they both sold their rights to a different company. But it was just an interesting way to start it. And then, of course, they were somehow eventually turned into super villains during Civil War, the comic book Civil War, which was generally kind of shitty. So
Oh,
I
it was
think
the
it was
comic.
great.
Oh,
I
but
think
Artstar
it
loved
was
it.
great.
Was
Yeah.
it done by Rob Liefeld? Is that why you hated Andy?
No,
but-
no. It was
I
done by
think
Mark
Andy hates
Millar.
it because it's super long and convoluted, like almost all of Marvel's comic series.
That's we've had enough tangents today. I think I complained enough about Civil War when we were talking about the movie. So
I love that you're cutting yourself off.
but Adrian
yeah,
Toomes,
that's good. That's good restraint.
yeah.
Said you want to talk about Adrian Toomes.
Yeah, he's the Vulture. Tony Stark calls him the Flying Vulture guy later. Just that's the nod to his comic book name. He was Amazing Spider-Man #2, 1963. Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. He was a really old man in the comics, and he was like an inventor who was inventing things, and his business partner was selling them. But then he embezzled a bunch of stuff, and he lost his job, and he was pissed about it, and he turned to crime, like you do.
Yeah.
And he invented this flight harness that also kind of augments his strength. And periodically, he somehow adapts it so he can steal people's youth, and can make himself young for a little while, and then it goes away eventually. But and apparently, Stan Lee wanted to introduce a different Vulture. They tried to redo a Vulture like it was a younger dude because it felt weird to have Spider-Man beating up a really old man.
Yeah.
But apparently the fans are like, no, we want the old Vulture. So all right, we'll stick with Adrian Toomes.
Huh. So they kind of, I guess I would say, do they split the difference? But I guess Michael Keaton is an old man now.
Yeah.
So
I mean, he's not young.
yeah, he's not young.
I love him, but he's not young.
And he does a good job of being scary as fuck. Like you.
Oh yeah,
He's
fucking
fantastic
threatening.
in
Yeah.
this. Yeah, he's.
But I love it. I love how they kind of show, what pissed him off, like what made him take this turn. Like he's a blue collar working union guy, and these fuckers come in, the Tyne Daly and everybody come in.
That's like a common trope, though, right? Like it's always something that turns someone either good or bad, kind of thing. Like extenuating circumstance, like I got to keep up this for my family. I got to do this for my family.
Yeah.
I got this medical bill that needs to be paid. They're like, here's this junk just laying around. Let's do something with it because they just want to destroy it. Well, we could be, Robin Hood type shit.
We could do so much with this. Yeah.
Right. Let's change.
And it's cool. And his whole crew is also, you got your Montana I talked about earlier, who's like the original Shocker, who's going around calling himself the Shocker. And then Bokeem Woodbine is Herman Schultz, who is the actual original Shocker, and now he's the MCU Shocker.
So that character was the original one.
Yeah, but you notice they don't ever. I don't think they ever call each other by those names.
They don't ever say Shocker.
They say Shocker, but they don't use their real names. So it's sort of that's a way to throw nerds off as to who's actually who. Because if they'd called this guy or the other guy Herman or Herman Schultz or anything, then you go, oh, that's the Shocker.
Everybody would know right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the Shocker character from the comics? Like, what does he do? He was
a really good inventor, like engineer, but he was a high school dropout, and he invented these gauntlets, the gauntlets like you see in the movie.
Yeah, like the weapon that just
like these vibro shock things, and he dresses sort of like the coat that the original guy was wearing. With like the yellow sleeves, it's kind of reminiscent of his costume, but the Shocker has like a mask over his whole head, and it looks like quilted padding because he's doing these vibrating shock things. He was a burglar and a safe cracker, and he gets beat a lot, so he kind of has a reputation of being a loser.
So it's kind of like a henchman type of guy. Like
he's the guy that gets hired to do stuff. Yeah. And he also joined Egghead's Masters of Evil. I just wanted to say Egghead. There is a Marvel character.
I love that you got so tickled by saying that.
You sure did.
Egghead. And not the Vincent Price Egghead from the Batman TV series, but the different Egghead whose head looks like an egg.
You gotta Google both of these. Bokeem Woodbine was great in the Fargo series, if anybody saw that.
I did not, but he's a good actor. And then
he's got cool sideburns and stuff, and oh my god, I just looked up Vincent Price Egghead. That's ridiculous.
Yep. And then there's the inventor guy, the guy who's always putting together the stuff and building the tech. That's actually a character called the Tinkerer.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The Phineas Mason, who's also a very early Spider-Man villain. He's just an old man who had a fix-it repair shop, but he secretly, armed supervillains. Like he built a suit for Mysterio and stuff like that.
Okay.
So he's kind of used.
I think
a
I
lot.
remember him from comic books for some reason. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you read, you read some of the early omnibuses, right? This is Amazing Spider-Man #2. This is right away. There's the Tinkerers in there.
Yeah, I feel like. Maybe not.
And there's some other guy in his group named Randy Vale who had a company named Randy Salvage, which I thought was funny. Macho Man Randy Salvage.
Huh.
I love that.
And he was created in 1979 and died in 2 issues later. But he was a minion of some villain named Carrion. And he had an outfit and he was called the Darter. But there's a guy created to be killed. But that's how deep this movie goes in referencing actual comic book characters. They brought in the Darter as a low rent dude.
Wait a second. I'm finding weird things on the internet. What is Spider-Man Miles Morales?
That's Into the Spider-Verse.
That's what's the name nephew.
Wait,
I know who Miles Morales is, but I found this article that says, "Is Finn the Tinkerer and Spider-Man Miles Morales?"
Oh, that's a video game.
That's a video
game. PlayStation.
I was gonna say I don't remember that movie coming out, but it's a PlayStation video game. Okay.
Yeah. Eventually, that movie will come out, though. I'm sure. Because
the fun thing about all of this is they all live, even our weird Star Wars talk, they all live in multiple realms, right? You have the movies, you have the comic books, you have the books now, because a lot of them are actually doing fiction books in YA.
Yeah.
And then you have the video games, which is their own world all together. Yes.
Yeah.
And cartoons.
And the cartoons.
So they all exist together but separate.
Yeah.
They're all alternate realities, and that can be infinite.
And there's so much. One can never consume everything. How am I supposed to watch all of the old Night Courts and the new Night Court, and then all of these comic books and play all these?
This is what you do. This is what you do.
Well, the trick is you don't have
to watch the new Night Court.
Yeah, I tried.
You don't like the new Night Court?
I couldn't get through the first episode. Ugh, I barfed.
It's not that good.
I heard good things, but
I'm giving it some time. The first Night Court had some trouble finding itself.
Yeah, but in this time period, TV, I could say TBS. TV doesn't give shows time to find themselves.
That's
true.
Yeah, and shows.
This is still network television, so maybe they will. Anyway.
Yeah.
Adrian Toomes' crew is built out with.
So they're all bad guys. They're all villains. That's good. I love it when they bring these guys in, but I guess that's what they do now. They bring in villains from cartoons. So nerds, I'd imagine, in the movie theater, oh, that's Shocker. Oh, that's Tinkerer.
Yeah. Oh, he said Shocker. I like that whole bit. You're calling yourself the Shocker. What is this, pro wrestling?
Yeah.
Michael Keaton did such a great job with this because he's very sinister and threatening, but especially when his family was revealed, and you see through the whole thing, he doesn't want to get super evil. He doesn't want to, he doesn't want to do the big score. He's just trying to stay under the radar. He's trying to, get the money he thinks he's deserved, but he's not trying to murder anybody. And even when he does murder the original Shocker, he's like, I thought this was the anti-gravity gun. He wasn't trying to murder him.
Yeah, right. That was a funny part. Yeah, I like that. He was like,
but then again, he shrugs off the fact that he just killed that guy pretty quickly.
I was about to say, while he wasn't trying to, he did, and there didn't seem to be a lot of.
It sure felt good.
Yeah, and the Vulture in comics is pretty ruthless. He's fine with murdering people.
Yeah.
And then just to round out the bad guy references here, they mentioned at one point the Gargan deal, and that's you meet Matt Gargan at the end when they run into each other in prison. That is
you also
that's what I was going to ask at the end.
That's the Scorpion.
Yeah. That's I think I Googled so this guy's got to be somebody.
Yeah.
Does he Is there a spoiler alert for him coming back in the later movies? Not yet.
We were expecting that too at some point, but it hasn't happened yet. And in the comics, he was like a PI hired by Jonah Jameson to figure out how Peter Parker got his good pictures of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then eventually hired him like, I'm gonna give you superpowers and make you fight him and beat him because I hate Spider-Man so much.
Who gave him the superpowers?
Jonah Jameson got this process that he went through this process that he got the scorpion armor on him so he could be a scorpion guy, but it drove him nuts because it was like, it's one of two villains I know of in Spider-Man where they got their villain costume and they're going nuts because they can't take it off. It's like Scorpion and Rhino are like, I'm stuck in this outfit. I'm pissed off. So
like
Scorpion,
the symbiote is stuck to their body.
and that's that's a little different because it's alive. It's in them, and it's a whole other thing. This is just, you built me a suit and I can't take it off. And
can't
you go,
take it off.
How's he going to the bathroom? What's the ding? But so Scorpion hates Spider-Man, but he also hates J. Jonah Jameson because he blames him for that.
And isn't J. Jonah Jameson just a guy that works at a newspaper? Like, isn't he just
but he's
he is,
also,
but he has a really anti-Spider-Man approach to life.
Yeah, like he's all right with, he's like a big antagonist, and they played that up for a while. And back in the day, newspaper publishers probably had a whole lot more power than they do now. I think.
Now they're just
Well, now it's like, how many physical newspapers do you know that still exist or getting printed?
Not many.
Which is why they've sort of made Jameson like a TV guy, and in the comics, he was the mayor of New York for a while.
Oh. Well, who wins the fight between Scorpion and Whiplash from He-Man? Master of the Universe.
Probably, they're basically the same thing, except Scorpion is not a lizard man.
And Whiplash is.
So you're saying a tie, and he's saying it's a
No,
tie.
Scorpion will win.
I think Whiplash will win.
You think Whiplash? Because he has to
I
fight
think
He-Man, who's magically powerful, whereas Scorpion fights Spider-Man, who is just slightly techno-powerful.
Chemically altered.
Chemically altered.
Well, sometime later, Peter Parker is recruited by Stark to help in the Clash of the Avengers in Berlin. But Parker resumes his studies after Stark tells him he is not yet ready to become an Avenger. 2 months later, over the objections of his aunt, May Parker, Parker quits his school's decathlon team in order to spend more time focusing on his Stark Industries internship, which is a cover for his crime-fighting activities as Spider-Man.
Yep, he's just trying to be an Avenger. He's trying to
get
that brass ring.
Gosh, yeah, I love this origin stuff. Like the whole part where he has that case and they do it through the film. He's filming Happy. That whole thing is well done where he's like, oh, my room's so big. Oh my God. Oh, I found the case, Oh my God, look at this thing. Oh my God. And Happy's kind of annoyed.
I enjoy this bit because, and I think I've said this, maybe not on the podcast, but someone else. I think this is the first time I truly feel like Peter Parker is a teen. Like all the teenness of who he is is in these films. Like,
yeah,
I want to be an adult so bad. And I have a skill set that adults need, but I'm still a kid, essentially. Like there's, when he's treating me like a kid, and his homie is like, because you are, like we are still kids. Yeah. And so I think having the bits with him and Tony, like, no, you're not ready, and focus on school, and him being like, I'll prove you wrong, which is very teenage, which is very teenagery. Yeah. I remember that as a teenager. Oh, I can't watch me. Yeah. And you don't even know you're being a teen because you think you have all the answers, right? I have this, you need me. I'm an asset.
Yeah, it's a weird combination of thinking you know everything and knowing you know nothing. And like I don't know, I'm just a kid, but I know this is what I have to do. I know I got to do all this stuff. And then the minute something comes up and you're like, I don't know what the hell's going on.
No, but I do love also seeing Tony as very much a mature-ish adult. With the focus on school, be a kid.
I love
like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I love how cool the costume is now. Like the costume has all this tech in it because Tony, what a great way to put that in there. That doesn't come at all from comics, right? And no comic is Iron Man the guy who introduces him to a better suit or anything, right?
not who introduces him to the suit in the first place, but yeah,
Right.
at one point during the Civil War storyline, Tony Stark sort of builds him an Iron Spider outfit that has all those like the big tentacles.
Oh, really?
which he
back.
ends up having.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
In
So
the
that
MCU.
Okay.
Mhm.
So that's not all original type stuff. So that Iron Man builds something for Spider-Man, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, in the comics, Peter genuinely always building his own costume. Like he's
yeah.
like he's a smart
Like
kid.
he sews it himself. There's many scenes of him like Aunt May taught him how to sew. So he's a sewing machine. He's mending his costume and fixing it up. And so yeah, he's very self-made in the comic books at least.
Which is kind of sort
Right.
of the little background theme of this movie is Peter becoming quote unquote a self-made hero. Like, he has the line, with the whole like, speaking of the suit, he's like, I'm nothing without the suit. And then Tony mirrors the thing from way back when, I want to say Iron Man,
Yeah.
whatever it was. But it's just like the whole like, if you're no one without the suit, you shouldn't have it kind of thing.
Yeah. Then you shouldn't have it if you
Right.
can't be anybody with it. Yeah.
But then he gets to a point where, he grows and he becomes someone who doesn't need the suit because he knows that he's a hero without the suit. So,
Right. It's like the bit from the Avengers. Like, what are you without the big fancy man in a big tin suit? What are you without that genius billionaire playboy philanthropist?
Yeah.
He is something without the suit, but he's also just kind of addicted to making the suits. But that's a whole another Iron Man thing. This is post Civil War Iron Man, I guess, trying to be responsible, because Civil War showed him like how guilty he is about being reckless, about Alfre Woodard's kid died in Sokovia and all that. So this is him trying to, I guess, steer someone right, even though and he's probably feeling bad about enlisting him into the big superhero fight in the first place. And I was trying to say, all right, I gave you too much of a taste of Avenger business.
Right.
I need you to dial it back. And he's like, no, we don't dial back. I am Avenger. Make me a hero.
I'm in. Yes, let me be great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
and it's weird. So this also kind of plays out in the I want to say it was a few years ago. That was an Amazing Spider-Man cartoon where Peter was recruited in the Shield, and it was like Nick Fury he would use him, but then kind of give him like a short leash, and it was always like, well, what do you have for me? Like, he always wanted to do something, but he always was getting into things and always ending up like he does in this movie. Like, instead of sitting back trying to whatever, like he wants to hang with the big dogs, he gets trapped in containers and shit because he's trying. He can't come down from the high of Civil War. So this small time stuff is not beneath him, but it's also not really like
It's not
the big
enough
shit.
anymore.
Yeah, right.
Which is very, I don't know about you at 16. I thought I had all the answers. And I said that to my dad recently. I was like, man, it's so crazy to think I had all the answers at the end of high school. And I clearly did not. He goes, yep, and we couldn't tell you any different. So I think that's Spider-Man too. Like, you can tell him all you want to, but he wants this so bad. You can't really stop him.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
Did we throw you off, Joe?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking the
I
next.
was gonna say,
thing-
did your brain short circuit a
the
little
next
bit?
part
Did
I
you
was
go
gonna
into-
bring. I was just gonna bring up the rest of the synopsis. Is the next part I really loved is one night after preventing Toombs' associates from robbing an ATM, Parker returns to his Queens apartment where his best friend Ned Leeds discovers his secret identity, which I love the ATM thing. That whole
Yes, they're wearing the Avengers mask.
the Avengers mask, and he's fighting him and all the little comments.
Which
and
is
then-
also that's from a comic book. I'm sure Andy probably knows which book it is, though.
Not offhand.
oh, failure! What a terrible
Yeah.
professor.
I'm a piece of shit.
He can't know all things at all times.
I'm gonna go on
guys.
ratemyprofessor.com right now and rate you and give you a shitty review, and then I'm gonna go on Rate My Rack and rate Artstar.
Lord. I don't know how we get into these things.
You guys remember that website, Rate My Rack?
No,
I do not.
I've never heard of it.
It was a
Never.
thing, like when the internet first started. It was a thing.
Was it a thing, or was it a thing you happened upon and you?
I've
No,
never
a lot
heard
of
of
a lot
it.
of people knew about it. I wish I could remember who told me about it. And it was horrible. It was just like, and there was one.
Well, it sounds horrible. Nothing
There was
about
one
that
for-
sounds great.
What was the one for guys? It was like Rate My Junk or something. Maybe that was Wieners. I don't know. Yeah, it was Rate My Feet. That's probably a thing.
I have never needed external validation enough to ask anyone in the world to rate any piece of my body. In fact, if you make a comment on my body, I will punch you. In any way, shape, or form. So I would not have known
Where
such
is your
things.
what's your kill move? Like what is it? Throat punch? Is that where
I
you
can't
go?
tell you how I hurt you.
Oh yeah, because then you'll be ready for it.
Why would I tell you, Joe? People like to try me anyway with my 5 foot status. You can't know, but you should be afraid.
You should be afraid the moment the door swings open, you hear TBJ, motherfucker.
Right.
You wouldn't hear that unless Joe is walking in behind me.
That's true. Then you would. Or if I'm in the
Jay
room.
up in this. Oh.
Up in this
There you go. I'll let you two announce it when I come in the room.
Well, the next day, Leeds pesters Parker all day about his abilities as Spider-Man, which is we already kind of talked about.
I think you glossed over my favorite bit though when he
Oh.
comes in the room. It's the back and forth where Peter is trying very hard to still deny it, even though there's no denying what he
crawling.
saw.
He's crawling on the
He's like,
ceiling.
oh,
You're
oh my
Spider-Man.
God. He's like, no, you didn't see that. You didn't. That's my favorite thing of like
Yeah.
the Shaggy song. It wasn't me. Like I caught it red-handed.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, not me. And his friend's like, dude, I saw you on the ceiling. I love that part so much because he tried so hard, like in suits coming off. And he's like, no,
You're
friend,
Spider-Man. You just climbed on the ceiling. You just walked on the ceiling. Yeah. So the next day he keeps asking these questions. I don't remember what it is. Are you an Avenger? Do you know Tony Stark? Or do you know? I'm not sure exactly what he asked.
Yeah.
him.
It's the questions you ask when you find out your friend's a superhero.
Yeah, so cool.
Right.
And he keeps asking like in class, they'll lead to him and ask him. That part was well done and funny. During gym class that day, Leeds accidentally says Parker knows Spider-Man after overhearing a conversation with Parker's love interest, Liz Allen, and her friend.
And see, that's one of the things too. Like when you find out you want to spill the secret, but no, you can't. And you know that your friend. So now you're like, oh, I'm gonna boost him up. So like, yeah, sort of like I don't know if you've seen Shazam. It was like in Shazam they had the whole thing like, yeah, he knows Superman and all of this, and Superman's coming to lunch kind of thing. So it's like it's the teenager in you that want to sit. So like, yeah, I know such and such. He knows him.
Trying to be impressive.
Cool.
Yeah, you're impressive and have friends and have people like.
And it's the girl he likes. It's like, come on.
Yep.
He wingman. I'm like, my wingman, you bro.
Yeah. Well, here's them all saying like, I'd bang Spider-Man. Like, who'd you rather? Was it Thor or Spider-Man? Oh, they were playing F, Marry, Kill, which was kind of funny. And that was with the one girl playing was that girl you said before, Betty, or the one who's
Betty Brant.
Betty Brant, yeah.
Who is actually Spider-Man's first love interest. He was a secretary at the Daily Bugle that he was selling his pictures to. And then thank you.
Every time you
my wife just gave me fruit.
Oh, good wife.
Good
See
wife.
what happens when you're a good husband and actually go grab groceries.
Yeah, my wife doesn't bring me any fruit.
Because you don't help her when she needs it. You don't bring in the groceries. You tell Andy not to.
Bro. I run the other way, bro.
But yeah, Betty Brant sort of had a brief thing with Peter Parker, and then eventually married Ned Leeds.
In the comics. Okay.
Yep.
She married
Then when he died, she got involved with Flash Thompson.
Oh.
And she's been around, and she's like a reporter for the Bugle. She started as a secretary and is now sort of a reporter.
But she's also turns into Spider-Woman.
No.
Oh.
No, somebody else.
That's Gwen Stacy.
Oh, Gwen Stacy.
That's Jessica Drew, who we won't talk about here because she was barely connected to Spider-Man in the first place.
All right. Anyway, that night, Peter Parker he's forced to go to Liz's party. And then while changing into Spider-Man, Parker comes across Toombs' associates, Herman Schultz and Jackson Bryce, selling Chitauri weaponry to local gangster Aaron Davis. And this is played by the childish Gambino, right?
I love how you put
And
the
this-
B in there.
Sorry, I'm eating fruit for a second.
Which
This
does
is-
anybody know how he got the name Childish Gambino?
He put it in a Wu-Tang Clan name generator, which was
Yep.
going around in the early 90s.
Yes.
That's old school internet business.
Yes.
But yeah, Aaron Davis is the ultimate universe prowler. And
When Peter looks him up, when he's like scanning, it actually says an alias, the Prowler.
Oh, really? So he's already.
And then
the Prowler, yeah.
also the other name he has an alias for is a combination of the names of the writer and artist from Ultimate Spider-Man.
Oh, Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli.
Right. So and the thing is Brian Pichelli underneath
Aha.
the Prowler.
I
Oh
see.
yeah. Again, I've found I love Easter eggs and Easter chickens.
Yeah.
But just coming out of the new stuff that Marvel I kind of sort of know that Marvel has been doing this for a hot minute, but now when I'm going back through these watch throughs, a lot of times I'm looking at things like
You're looking for them.
here's this angle, read everything, and then like pause. Let me look this up real quick to see because I think I recognize that I recognize it, but let me just because like look, it said the Prowler. That's who he becomes in the comics. But go ahead.
I think that's the fun part of rewatching, though. Art, you
Yeah.
pointed this out in more than one movie. Like you're like read the writing that was on the screen, and I don't pay attention. Look at the files on the desk. It's nice because you can go back. We are all rewatching.
I play escape
giving
room
a
with these.
chance.
I play escape room with these movies.
Yes, you do. But I think that's pretty cool because if you watch it one time, the way we tell Joe to watch it one time for just to be entertained and watch it again to like catch some things. I think that's always nice.
Tell me about the Prowler because I don't think I've ever heard of this guy. But I'm looking at Googling this image. It's a cool looking.
He's also
he's got a big purple cape.
He's like one of the first characters you fight on Spider-Man Miles Morales for PlayStation.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So you may remember the Prowler from Into the Spider-Verse. He was like Miles Morales' uncle. He is Miles Morales' uncle.
Oh.
And he was secretly the Prowler. But the original Prowler from 1969, the Stan Lee, John Buscema, was a guy named Hobie Brown, and who was like a teenager who had these engineering skills and invented this outfit. So his plan was he'd go disguise himself as a supervillain called the Prowler with the big purple cape and everything, and he would steal stuff and then return them as himself and say, "Oh, I found this here. I'm returning this. Can I get a reward or something?" That was his big plan. But eventually, shit went wrong and his first thing. And he wasn't really a bad guy, so he kind of gave up crime to become an occasional sort of superhero when he needed. But then in 2011, the Ultimate Universe, Bendis and Pichelli created Aaron Davis as Miles Morales' uncle. And I found this interesting because I hadn't read a lot of that, but Miles Morales' father, his name is Jefferson Davis. And he changed his name. I think he took his wife's name of Rhea Morales because Jefferson Davis is the goddamn president of the Confederacy.
Yeah.
I want to know what Bendis is thinking, naming like they're doing this thing. Like Miles Morales is very much like an effort to diversify and include and like get a POC character in the Spider-Man mythos front and center. And his father's name is named after the Confederate president. That's just the weirdest thing to me. And I don't know, maybe it's addressed in the story. I don't know. I haven't read a lot of that. Do you know anything about that, Art?
No, I don't.
I feel like I want to dig into that.
Yeah,
because I wonder if it was intentional or, at this point we have so many name repetitions that there are some people named after some people they shouldn't be, but they don't necessarily know the origin of their name. So I'm wondering if
I wonder if it's a mistake.
Was just a name they made, or was he being a little sneaky and putting in a little hint of racism, his own personal biases?
Right.
But then it also you think about it too. It's like, okay, if I'm creating this, it's my shit. I can do what the fuck I want to do with it, kind of thing. So like, it's not. It could be them putting in a hint of racism or misogyny or whatever because that's the way they truly feel. But then they also feel like South Park does it a lot, right? It's like the name of that first movie, Bigger, Longer, Uncut. It was like they purposely set it up for this, and then they're like, "Oh, cool, sure, cool, go ahead and make the movie." But it's like they pretty much just elongated, pun intended, what they were trying to do, and to see if they can get away with it. A lot of times, people, I'm sure they say like, "Let me throw this in there, see if I get away with it." Like now they'll probably say like, "You know what? No one probably will say anything about this for another 20 years. Let's just run with it right now until we decide we want to get it canceled or whatever happens in the future." But I'm pretty sure they probably like, I'm just gonna do this shit. Fuck it.
Yeah, I mean, I could see
this motherfucker.
I could be just like he made up that name and didn't realize, oh shit, he's that guy. But
no one checked him.
Yeah.
Standards in practice didn't check it.
Yeah, I guess not.
Cool.
But what's interesting about Donald Glover being in this movie is that Miles Morales was created as a result of Donald Glover being rumored to be Spider-Man in new Spider-Man movies before they went with Andrew Garfield. I think it was after Tobey Maguire was done. There was a big upswing of people like, we get Donald Glover in there. I think he was like really big in Community at the time or something like that. And there was a whole huge thing going, Donald Glover, let's make him Spider-Man. He's great. And then, there's the backlash of, man, white. And then,
and white.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how some of your uncles sound.
That's true. It is.
Yeah.
But
and that was like, it was a big thing. Like it was a big rumor for a while. And they I think eventually went, well, we gotta do traditional Peter Parker. But then the comics went, well, how do we change the game to make it so it's not such a controversial thing to have Donald Glover as a Spider-Man?
Well,
Miles Morales kind of developed out of that.
Mm-hmm. But he did Miles Morales' voice in the Ultimate Spider-Man television series. So
he's kind of directly the inspiration for Miles Morales.
Full circle.
Donald Glover is.
Yeah.
So the Miles Morales didn't exist until recently,
until 2011, I believe,
at all, like in comic lore or anything. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it came out of that whole rumor thing. That's a cool origin thing. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it though. I think of how many kids I've seen show up for a Spider-Man that looks like them has been incredible.
Yeah, and so now he's playing Miles Morales' uncle,
who is a criminal.
Who's a criminal in this.
And he even references he's got a nephew.
So does that mean, do people think, do nerds mean, or have they already, maybe they've already announced that there's going to be an actual Miles Morales live action MCU thing?
I think it's inevitable. I think
it is.
Yeah.
But it's not.
I think it'll come. It'll come.
You guys just think, but it hasn't been officially.
No.
But people are speculating that it will be.
Well, I mean, I guess it's one of those things where like once they fold in, which they probably eventually will, once they fold in like into the Spider-Verse, into the MCU kind of thing, and then you'll have it like sort of, so like how you have Vince's like in
they haven't? It's not already in it?
I don't think it's officially an MCU film.
In What If?
I thought it was.
You have like Sharon Carter in animated form, right?
Yeah.
So you have like animated characters. Then there's even further down, spoiler, you have in the Doctor Strange 2, you have the Professor X, which is the Professor X from the X-Men 97 cartoon series, which they're redoing, which is a part of the MCU. So it's like you have the option to bring in characters who are animated or whatever, and especially with timeline shift. Like, we don't know for sure, but at the end of the Spider-Verse 2, who knows if because you already have like just shit with chaos magic and timelines and Kang and all of this shit.
Yeah.
We get to see trailers and previews, but we don't really necessarily know what the fuck is happening down the pipeline until the movie comes out, and then a super secret thing that no one knew about happens to pop up on the screen, and you can go like, oh shit, you have like super nerdgasm right there in the theater.
Yeah.
Did you
She is
say
everywhere.
super nerdgasm?
Yes.
Yeah.
Super nerdgasm.
Okay.
Nerdgasm.
Oh, and while we're talking about the Prowler, one of the guys on the debate team, this guy Abe Brown, the one who keeps telling Flash he's wrong,
Yeah.
is actually a character who is
What?
Hobie Brown, the original Prowler's brother. And I just learned this. He was also had a superhero identity as the Black Tiger in 1974 in like Deadly Hands of Kung Fu comics, which is very much like, oh, Kung Fu movies are a big thing. Let's try to make comics about that. So he was in a group called Sons of the Tiger.
Kids were actual comic characters. Like a
Yeah.
couple of them are like Flash's bully friends
Yeah.
from the comic book. So just like it's all it's Marvel and nerdy comic book shit for us to have super nerd guys.
Black Tiger looks cool. He looks familiar. Like, I feel like I remember that from, I don't know if that was possible. Andy, remember we had that handbook for the Marvel?
Oh, I'm sure he was in there.
Marvel role playing game we had when we were younger. Like,
that's kind of how I learned a whole lot about Marvel characters. Was
Just
we
from
had
that
these
handbook.
giant, like there was the Marvel role playing game, and they had these giant stacks, like the official handbook of the Marvel universe, except all the stats for all these characters. I mean, they publish those regularly. It just has profiles of, hey, here's all our characters, here's our library.
everybody.
But the one we had was like, I think the first volume. I think we had a couple volumes of just page after page of characters.
And I think I've mentioned this before, like when I was a kid, just being an artist, like those and like DC Who's Who, like to me, like sometimes it was better just reading through that than actually reading the comic book story, because you're reading like, oh, like, wow, he could do this. He fought this. He had this appearance in this book, and like shit like that. I got super nerd guy. I can't even say it.
I'm with you. I like the characters. I like characters. I like characters and more characters and more characters. I'm the same way. I want to know them all. I want to read about all of them. I want to know where they live in relation to each other. I want
to who they bang.
Who they bang? No,
okay,
I'm not into that. No, that is crossing a line.
Probably not. You've told us what your browser history is, so it's probably not.
RateMyRack.com. Rate Arts Rack. Oh, and by the way, while we're talking about the Wu-Tang Clan name generator, Artstar's Wu-Tang name is Tough Dragon.
Tough Dragon. That sounds really weak.
I can see that.
That feels kind of weak.
Yeah.
I feel like,
You think that feels weak?
You think it could be better.
Like, Tough Dragon. It doesn't feel tough to me.
Well, let me actually put in Artstar instead of your actual name and see what happens. Okay, it's Excessive Bagman.
Take the dragon.
I just put mine in, and it's Unfortunable Stylist. I want to see if
can you re-roll if they're like one of those things, like like
no.
Sometimes they say choose a username and you keep clicking it and it just like keeps shuffling through different titles and names.
I think once you do
I just
it,
put mine in
forever.
again, and I came up with the same thing.
Yeah, I'm Chromatic Corvus.
Add my name. Who am I?
Let's see. Well, do we put in TBJ? Do we put in your actual
I think you
name?
just put Tiffany.
TBJ is Bold Killer.
That's accurate.
And your full name is Speedy Hunter.
Speedy Hunter.
They both allude to the same thing, which is very accurate.
You're a bold killer and a speedy hunter. Speedy Bold Hunter Killer. Bold Killer.
Joe's name is actually Unreal Crane.
No, that's not what I got.
Well, what I put in your real name, which is Dumb Asshole.
Oh. Fuck you, dude.
Dude.
You went too far there. But
I'm sorry.
Anyway, I love Childish Gambino, Donald Glover. I've been rewatching Community, getting ready for the Community movie. He's so great in that. He's so funny and great in that. They all are, but and I started watching Atlanta. I'm only on season 1 still, but anyway,
Atlanta's good.
But Peter Parker nearly drowns while intervening in this Aaron Davis thing, but he's rescued by Stark. I can't remember how he nearly drowned. How did he end up in the water? What happened? Anybody remember?
This was the one he's chasing down the Shocker and
Yeah, he's
Shocker
chasing him
2,
down.
and he's like
they're dragging him right from the
skiing on his ass.
where he was
yeah.
he was in the ire, and he shook him off. Did he shook him off?
Yeah, and they're driving all over, and the weapons fall out. Yeah. Oh, this is before the Donald Glover parking garage scene, because that was a cool. You get to know him a little bit more. But Parker nearly drowns while interviewing. He's rescued by Stark while he's intervening, and he's rescued by Stark, who is monitoring the Spider-Man.
I think Vulture shows up and like drags him into the air and drops him into the sea.
Bay. That's right. Yeah, into the bay. And Tony's monitoring the Spider-Man suit and warns him against involvement with the dangerous criminals. And later, angry with Bryce for jeopardizing the operation, Toombs accidentally kills him, as we talked about, with one of the weapons and gives his gauntlet to Schultz.
There you go.
And then retrieving a Chitauri weapon left behind by Bryce, Parker works with Ned to remove the power core. And that's kind of cool. These little nerdy kids trying to, figure that out, like these Lego building buds. A tracking device.
Class.
Yeah, and shop class. Yeah. A tracking device leads Schultz to Midtown School of Science and Technology, but Parker and Leeds manage to evade him.
See, like the thing with the Shocker is like when they killed the original dude, I thought that was he was Herman Schultz, and they killed him off because that's how much of a loser Shocker was in the comics. And then just give it like this guy's the Shocker now. I figured Bokeem Woodbine was like a whole separate character, just a new guy they were gonna make into the Shocker, but apparently not.
But he's Schultz.
Yeah.
After planting his own tracking device on Schultz and learning that it leads to Maryland, Parker rejoins the decathlon team and accompanies them to Washington, D.C. for nationals. Working with Leeds, Parker disables the tracker implanted in a Spider-Man suit and unlocks all its secret features, including the built-in AI that Parker later names Karen. And that's cool. Ned didn't want to help him. Ned was like, no, we are kids. We're not you can't do this. And you can be the guy in the chair. You can be
By the way, Roger Harrington, aka Martin Starr, is a comic book character.
Okay.
From 2001, from J. Michael Straczynski and John Romita Jr. He was the principal of Midtown High, and like he hired. This is like long after Peter's graduated. But Peter Parker gets a job as like a science teacher at Midtown High, and he's the guy that hires him.
Okay.
He's an older guy. And also
and we're talking about the teacher. We're talking about the teacher that's leading him on the field trip.
And he's also, if you remember, we talked about this at the time, he has a brief cameo appearance in the Incredible Hulk movie, and when he's still a student, as like a guy who lets Bruce Banner use computers in exchange for pizza.
Oh yeah.
And he's supposed to be. It's the
and
same.
He's the same character, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is the same character.
And he is the best thing about the '90s show,
Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and
You know
Geeks.
what's another cool show that he's in right now?
Party Down.
Tulsa King with Sylvester.
Oh, he's in
Stallone.
Tulsa King.
It's fucking awesome.
Like
Tulsa King
that's
is fucking
Stallone
awesome.
as a gangster in Oklahoma, right?
Right. He's from New York, but they ship him out to Oklahoma.
I see.
It's just fucking awesome. Fucking awesome.
And
show.
he's also in the Beastie Boys' last music video, "Make Some Noise."
Make some noise.
As well he should be.
Make some noise.
Anyway, yeah, they go to Washington, D.C., and Peter Parker and Karen, by the way, is a Stark AI voiced by Jennifer Connelly, who is the real life wife of
I didn't know
Paul
that was
Bettany,
Jennifer
who
Connelly's
is the
voice.
Vision, who was
But
Jarvis.
she also is she's also I think she's the best Betty Ross.
We know. You
Betty
told
Ross or
us.
Betsy Ross. Betsy Ross made the American flag.
Yeah.
And was racist.
Oh, she was racist as hell. Yeah. No, wait a second. Did you just say that Paul Bettany is married to
Jennifer Connelly?
Jennifer Connelly?
Yes.
And that's common knowledge. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
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 And Paul Bettany is the Vision, who started as Jarvis, who's
Yeah.
also a Stark AI, and now
he's married to
Stark built
another
an
Stark AI,
AI.
and it's Jennifer Connelly who plays Hulk's love interest in not in
the
the MCU though.
Not in the MCU.
The one that's not in the MCU.
Right.
Oh God, that's true. Mine's blown. I didn't know that. I can't take any more knowledge for the day.
You didn't know they were
What?
married? They've been married since early
No,
2000s.
I had no
Early.
idea. She
Yeah.
was great in career opportunities.
I think the only reason I know is because he was a part of the trial for Johnny Depp and his wife.
He was? Paul Bettany was?
Yes, him and Johnny exchanged some text messages that were not nice about
Yeah.
his wife, and they were brought up in trial. And so we learned a little more about his life outside of being Vision, because I didn't pay attention to him other than him being
Well,
Vision.
he's
Other than
also
Vision,
he's also a Darth. So Darth
Yes.
for the boss. Is it
What?
Darth?
He's what? A Darth?
Yeah, he's in. Is it Solo or Rogue One? He's in one of those.
Oh, he's a bad guy in that.
Yeah.
So
He's part
he's
of
in.
the Darth.
So
Yeah,
we
look,
got
I think
two.
it's Solo.
Oh, my
I still
God.
need to watch Solo. I haven't watched that yet.
It's good.
All this talk of Donnie Glover.
Yeah, Donald Glover is in
Oh.
Star Wars. He's in the Star Wars and the MCU.
He's Lando.
He's Lando, and he's Shocker. I mean, Prowler.
He's so good being Lando. He's
Right.
Too
so
much
good.
information.
I'm mad it took me so long to watch both of those, and they were good.
Did it?
Yeah, because I felt like this shit don't seem like it's canon to me. I just Why do
You're
I
being
need
a
to see this?
purist.
Why do I need to see this?
No,
You know,
the
like,
moment
damn,
you
this
told
shit was
me
good.
that Donnie Glover was going to be in it playing Lando, I was like, I'll be there. Don't you worry.
He was the
It is
best thing
Solo.
about that.
Bettany is in Solo. I thought so.
He was, yeah. I think
Uh-huh.
Donald Glover was awesome as Lando.
He's awesome in everything, but he was
Yeah,
especially
he's
awesome.
always awesome. But he was. Everybody was like, "Oh, that movie sucked." I thought it was great. I thought him as Lando
liked
was
it.
awesome. Now, I would have liked to see if they could make a CGI young Billy D. Williams. That'd be kind of cool. But no need, because Donald Glover is so great and cool.
Oh, good.
I think I liked the guy who played Han Solo less than I liked Donald Glover playing Lando.
You aren't the only one.
I think
to
the
say
big
so.
problem was
But I didn't mind the
Like-
guy playing Han
like-
Solo.
anyone who isn't Harrison Ford playing Han Solo was a tough sell.
It was not going to be.
Yeah, it
good.
was
It's
like
gotta
a
be here.
lose-lose for that person. But I don't think
Yeah.
the movie was a bad movie in any way, shape, or form, unless you are a purist. Apparently, Artstar was, because he took forever to watch it.
I still haven't watched it.
Oh, it's good. I think
You
it's
guys
good.
are hurting
It's
my
good.
feelings. I watched that.
It's
in the
crazy though,
theater.
because now it's like
It's one of the best ones.
I'm all about consuming. Like, no, I just finished at the end of last year reading Darth Plagueis. So it's like I'm excited to see Thrawn show up. Like I've not finished the Clone Wars, but I'm heavily invested in Bad Batch, so I'm starting the Clone Wars over again from episode 1 when I only got through episode 4 of season 1 when there's 7 fucking seasons and there's Rebels but like hey, listen, the mighty Artstar, while he may be a Sith, sometimes the purist in him, like it takes him a minute. But then once
So-
you get there,
Well,
like,
isn't being a Sith mean you're a purist and like you're basically a Nazi who
here's
tries
the
to
thing,
stomp out?
here's the thing. As a Jedi,
You're not wrong, Andy.
as a Jedi adjacent person, as you are, Andy, it's just like you guys to sit there and try to come back and break us down and wonder why we do the things that we do. Y'all too caught up in that. Don't do don't try do bullshit. Like listen. We do what we want to do when we want to do it, while we want to do it, and we don't care about laws.
Boom.
What you're saying is you don't try, you just do.
It's not about trying. It's not
So
about
it's-
trying. Like if I command Joe to take you out, he's gonna do it. He may not do it tomorrow. It may take him 20 years, but he'll do it.
Well, speaking of trying,
Lord.
Peter later tries to stop Toombs from stealing weapons from a damage control truck, but ends up being overpowered and trapped inside the truck, causing him to miss nationals. And when he discovers that the Chitauri Energy Core is unstable, Parker tracks leads to the Washington Monument, arriving just as the core explodes and traps Leeds in an elevator. Evading local authorities, Parker manages to save Leeds and his classmates, including Liz, before the elevator plummets. That's a very exciting part.
Yeah.
And I thought this movie's so damn long. Like at this point, I thought that was the culmination of the movie. I was like, wow, that was exciting.
That was the big battle, the big scene.
I was like, that was amazing. Oh, that was great. Oh, I remember, because I kind of remembered seeing this bit because I think I had seen this movie before. I was like, oh, it's over. And then I look and I'm like, geez, I'm not even halfway through this movie. Like I thought it was over.
And it's kind of neat. Like he's being afraid of heights, climbing up the Washington Monument when he's swinging around New York all the time.
Yeah,
Right?
Yeah,
But there's nothing to swing to. There, he can't.
That's true. It's like
Catch
just
himself.
up there.
Yeah, there's nothing to stick to. Yeah, so he's
straight up.
And I was nervous the whole time, like just like, ugh, I'm not a heights. I do not like heights.
And that's like something heights that
don't like
spin off of Melrose Place or whatever that was. Sorry,
maybe
dumb
I
deep
don't
cut into a piece of shit cake. But it's
no, I'm afraid of heights now. I wasn't when I was younger, but I am now. I don't think I can do roller coasters anymore and stuff like that. Anyway.
I did like the bits also where he's choosing to do superhero shit over all the shit a normal high school kid would like to do. Like,
yeah,
like the rest of his team's like, let's we're being a little daring. We're gonna go swimming in the pool. We're not supposed to.
And yeah, you know, you want him to because you want him to get the girl, and
and you want him to be a kid, and everyone's telling him to be a kid, and this is part of being a kid, and he's missing out on important things to because he's taking on the weight of the world. That's Spider-Man.
Yeah, that's what he does. Yeah, he misses all this stuff, and I felt bad for him kind of at this point because I'm like, no.
Yeah, I think he would feel guilty. I mean, we allude to the fact that Peter feels guilty a lot in general, and so I think his character would feel guilty knowing that the bad guys are out there doing bad things and he didn't do anything to help. So though we're rooting for him to be a teen, he is like, I can't ignore it. Like I can't ignore this thing happening, and I can't not solve the problem.
Yeah, right. That makes him a hero. Yeah.
Yeah, but it also makes him, there's a little tragedy there.
Yeah.
And he gets a reputation as being a huge flake because he doesn't
never
show up.
Around. Yeah.
Where the fuck were you?
Yeah.
When you came to DC, we're in Nationals. Where the fuck were you?
Where did you go? Yeah, you missed the whole thing.
I mean, that's again another one of those superhero kind of tropes, right? It's like things happen. You miss.
Spider-Man is what started that trope, I think.
Yeah.
Because before, like, Spider-Man was one of the first superheroes that had like real world, like regular dude problems.
Like a full life. We saw the full regular life.
Before, like the 60s, like most superheroes were done that was just doing crazy heroic things all the time. You didn't see much about their personal life. You didn't see them as having flaws, as having problems, and dealing with shit. And then that was part of the Marvel Comics renaissance of the superhero in the early 60s, starting with the Fantastic Four having their weird dysfunctional family dynamic, and Spider-Man was right on there. Incredible Hulk was right in there too. All of these guys just having these burdensome problems. Like, having this power does not make your life amazing, even if you are the Amazing Spider-Man. I just brought that around.
Yeah, and I think
that I see it. I see you, Andy.
I feel like this is kind of a good place to leave it, and then we'll pick up.
Pause button. Pause.
Yeah, since this was where I thought the movie ended anyway, it would have been a good movie. Even this,
and this is the end in Joe's world. We'll pick up the real world ending next episode.
Yeah, we'll get to the rest of the movie.
That works. My puppy will be very happy.
And then we can all get some brass.
Gotta go outside.
Look at that sweet baby.
Whip.
That's a little sweetheart dog.
Spider blood, radioactive spider blood.
Thanks for listening.
Whip.
Nerd heads. What's our listeners? What do we call them?
We say this and we don't have
Nerd pod. Nerds.
I don't think we settled. We've said a few different things.
Nerd Hive.
I just say nerds all the time.
What are TBJ followers called?
I don't think I have any followers.
Like, you know how like Taylor Swift's are Swifties?
TBGBs?
Yeah, I don't.
TBGBs.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, TBGBs. Leave us a review. And tell us if you're a TBGB, and you'll get one night alone with Artstar.
There you are. All prizes lead to one night alone with Artstar.
You notice how she is profiting off the back of Artstar. Wow.
I mean, we're
wow.
on this podcast
Whoa.
together.
Wow.
So if you're going to profit, it goes to the podcast gang. That's what families do. Speaking of dysfunctional families.
Me out,
That's
Joe.
what we do, Art. If Joe can be your sugar baby, Andy and I can also benefit off the profits.
Yes.
We're here too. It's not just about you and Joe profiting.
Yeah, Artstar. Get it right.
All right, I'm gonna go eat some fruit.
All right, Artstar, sing us out.
Spider-Man, Spider-Man. I can't do it because I'm laughing.
They say I can't rap about the president no more, but evidently they don't see we in the streets still poor. Still more incarceration of my kinsmen by the prisons, and people thinking this election to end in racism. Proud over pessimism, glad to see Obama, but don't expect me not to speak out when I still see problems, Mr. Officer. Now they POTUS look like me, you gon' think again when seeing brothers rolling down the street. Every Martin Luther King on his American dream, still a Rodney being beaten, screaming fuck the police. Me, I'm running through the pasture, trying to get away from master, but the dogs is on my ass, I gotta move a little faster. Can't pass for Caucasian, but I got a couple papers from the plantation saying I graduated, congratulations. Cool beans, but to most school mean trying to dodge STDs, living off government cheese. Trust the government, please. Not even if it was me sitting in the Oval Office as commander-in-chief, trying to give us free. But there's a nigga in my ear saying, you got it, Superman, you ought to keep it here. Get this distinctly clear, I'm all about jetting. Raps Kunta Kinte without the half-stepping. A new chapter, back with new lessons. After that, the final exam. Any questions?
QueenCityPodcastNetwork.com.